Broadcasting on Star Worldwide Networks. It's Two Small Biz Guys. And now, here are your hosts, Zen Benefiel and Ray Silverstein.
Welcome to Two Small Biz Guys. Ray, how you doing today?
I am breathless.
You are breathless. Well, we were just talking off the air of it. His breathing style kind of gets a little, you can hear it. So I was telling him to be quiet. He says, well, you want me to stop breathing? I said, yeah. And so we had a Zen moment.
Oh, a Zen moment. Oh,
yeah.
I was thinking about thoughts. Okay.
Thinking about thoughts?
I was thinking about the 7
That's pretty
ways,
heavy.
Yeah, I know, but I was thinking about the 7
That's
steps
the whole thing
great
about
business.
sentience, being able to know that you're thinking.
Oh, I think, therefore I exist.
Right. And being such a sales guy, we're going to be talking about sales today and the 7 steps to creating sales. And, sales is really it's a numbers game, right?
Right.
Bottom line.
Right.
It's just you got to lose the fear of rejection and just keep plugging away. Now, a lot of people talk about the sales funnel. And it's not plastic, it's not a sieve, it's not aluminum.
Well, it might be a sieve because you lose some of the sales on the way down the funnel. But
sure,
you're right. It's not plastic. It's not aluminium. Aluminium,
and it's not upside down, which is what one of the guys used to say my website was. It was like an upside down funnel. It's a final funnel.
Okay, but the sales funnel. Sales funnel really is nothing more than a means of knowing how much activity you have to do at the top and at each step to get business on the way down. So if you say that let's say you make telephone calls, get business for appointments, and if you have to make, say, 10 phone calls to get one appointment, so therefore if you need to have, say, 5 appointments to get, say, 2 orders or 1 order, it becomes a numbers game as to how many phone calls you have to make to get so many appointments, to get so many orders or proposals. So if you take each step of the selling process and put it into a funnel as to starting at the top and working your way down to success at the bottom, and then talk about, okay, what is your percentage of activity at each step on the way down? You can calculate how much activity you need to do at each step. So when they talk about sales being a numbers game, it's really the aspect that if you do so much activity, you can kind of project what you should be getting out at the bottom. And the question,
which really makes it kind of an easier process, because a lot of guys, it's like, oh my God, I got to go, it's a numbers game. I got to get this many. I got to do 100 calls to get one prospect and yada, yada, yada. Well, when you step back from that and just look at the process line by line, item by item, it becomes much more doable, I think, because you can break it down into specific time frames and what you need to do in those.
Well, but okay, that's one aspect. It tells you what you have to do.
Right.
The other aspect
then you got to go do it.
Okay, but the other aspect is if you're not reaching your percentages, the question is always why. So if I'm making my phone calls, I just took a deep breath. So I'm making my phone calls, and am I not getting my percentage of appointments I should be getting? The question is always why. Why am I not getting my percentage of appointments? So is it the list I'm working with? Are they properly qualified? Is it my presentation? Do I have to change my presentation? So you have to go through this process as to if you're not hitting your numbers, like in baseball, if you don't hit if you're a 300 hitter and you're not hitting 300, and
I don't like to hit anything. Let's say if we don't make our numbers.
Okay, so if you don't make your numbers, all right, then the question is always why. What is going on that the numbers aren't being made? So it gives you a thinking process to go back and reflect as to where the problem is as you're working your way down the funnel.
And the analysis of that, which is really what it is, it's analysis of your activity and how effective you are. And you usually, to go through it on your own without having a sounding board or a coach or mentor or something like that, oftentimes doesn't really give you the kind of answers that you need. You need to have an outside opinion.
Okay, so the sales funnel basically tells you how much activity you have to do at each stage, which means it tells you how much you have to do at the top.
Right.
And therefore you can define your daily activity as to how much business you need to, or what you have to do to get the business. Then the aspect is, what do you do to enhance your probability of success? And we talked about this before one time, is defining who your customer is. And when I talk to a lot of small business owners, you say, well, who's your customer? And they say...
You really got to define your target.
Well, they say, anybody who buys my product. And then I say, wrong, because... That's right. We give them what? There we go. See, that means you got the wrong thing. So the process is that you have to define who your customer is.
I got a defective buzzer.
Yeah, it sounds like that. It's the defect or the buzz, one or the other. So the aspect.
The buzz is great. It's the defect.
Okay, so you have to define your customer for the buzzer, I guess. But the premise is, if you don't define your customer properly, you're wasting your time. You're calling on people who really can't give you the business. And the goal here is to really only work on those people where you can get business. So the aspect is, in selling, you have to do a lot of qualification. And the first aspect of qualification is defining who the customer is.
And there's a lot of elements to that. It's not just a broad stroke that you're looking at, okay, who might be my audience? You really have to define it. Demographics, income, education, types of materials they read, all the different...
all those good things. And also
industry interests.
Yeah, you also get into psychographics as to what is their personality like. So, for example...
are they psycho or not?
Oh, you got to be psycho, or maybe a little bit...
You
got to be...
Wait a minute, we won't go into that.
Okay. So, for example, if you're selling a marketing orientated... Okay, that sounds very good. That's not our customer for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
So if you're selling a product that has to be marketing or oriented and driven, you need to have the aspect of, you want somebody who's marketing oriented in the thinking process. So for example, I used to be on a bank board, and the owner of the bank was very, very good.
BORED?
Well, both ways.
Okay.
Both ways. So the owner of the bank was very, very good with customers. He had great hand-holding ability with customers. But if you talk about marketing concepts, he didn't get it.
Mm-hmm.
So for him, if you went in and talked to him about some type of co-marketing program, he wouldn't get it. So psychographically, he would not be a good customer. You'd be wasting your time with that type of person. So you have to think about all those other items you mentioned, income, gender, age, demographics, location, distribution channels, and all those good things. But you also have to think about, what is the personality of the person that you're looking for?
Yeah, where's the strike zone?
So, right, where is the strike zone? So the more you can pre-qualify the party, the better off you are. So the concept here is that you make less proposals, but you have a higher close rate. So therefore, you are really, the premise is that you're working on more success. Oh, Zen just threw his phone away. I guess he's overwhelmed with this whole concept we're talking about.
Being interrupted.
So that's meaning interruptus. If you speak Latin or something like that, it's interruptus.
Phonus interruptus.
Phonus interruptus. I hope everybody heard it out there. So,
yep.
So Zen right now is not a customer for somebody who wants to sell something on a mobile phone. So you got to think about that as to how your customer thinks. So that's one aspect of defining the customer.
Although we use the mobile app for the show and many other things that we do, because that's where the audience is.
Right, that's true. Then when we go back to the aspect of the sales funnel and the numbers game, we also have a worksheet, which is a 100-point sheet. So if you're fully occupied in sales, you should be getting, most people on this worksheet should be getting 100 points a week, 20 points a day.
And you'll be able to get those, not only will you get the white paper, the 7 steps to creating sales, but you can get the 100-point system by going to our website and going to the blog that features this show, and you'll see the 7 steps to creating sales. There'll be a form on the page. You can fill it out and download the material.
Right. So the aspect is if you download this material and you think about it and you work with the worksheet and you keep score, you can tell whether you're putting the time in the right areas. And if you're not getting success as to the percentages you expect, the first thing you say is, okay, am I calling on the right people?
Right. Which gets into the 80-20 rule, right?
That gets into the 80-20 rule, which we'll be talking more about next time, next session. It's overwhelming how one thing leads to another. Oh, he's pointing to me that we're supposed to talk about him now, I guess.
Yeah, you got it in our agenda.
Okay.
I'm just following the agenda here, loose as it is. We're
even,
kind of loosey-goosey most of the time anyway. But
and I even wrote the agenda, too.
Yeah, you did. See how you are? You can't even follow your own rules.
Oh, my gosh.
God.
Here, 1 second.
Yeah.
That's slapping my hand. Shame on me.
Hey, wait a minute. I was supposed to do that. Oh, I did.
Okay.
Okay.
So the 80-20 rule, I think we're going to talk more about it in the next session.
Okay.
Okay, how's that?
Since we're going to do that. And speaking of next session, we're going to break for that. We'll be right back with you. Thanks for listening to Two Small Biz Guys.
And you want to be back for the 80-20 discussion.
You bet.
Two Small Biz Guys with Zen and Ray. We'll be back after this.
Are you a small business owner looking for education and information and don't have time for school? Is there an area of your business you'd like to know more about but aren't sure where to go or who to ask? Practical Biz U is an online repository of small business courses now available to you on the web. There are single class options, bundles for specific areas, and monthly memberships for ongoing learning opportunities. Go to practicalbizu.com and sign up today. The digital world is vast. Is it working for you? Would you like some qualified help? Zen Benefiel is a wonder with social media who leads focused and organized workshops on multiple platforms like Facebook, Google+, and LinkedIn. He leads by example, not theory, and teaches you how to live large and lively on the web. From blogs to SEO, his web presence speaks for itself. Take advantage of his expertise. Visit BeTheDream.com and click on Web Wizardry. Hire him while you can.
You're listening to Two Small Biz Guys. Now, back to your hosts, Zen Benefiel and Ray Silverstein.
Welcome back to Two Small Biz Guys. Thanks for listening. You've got Ray and Zen on the line, and we're just amazingly adequate.
It's better than being inadequate, I guess.
Yeah, we're talking about sales.
I thought we're more than adequate.
We are.
You're a put-down artist.
Well, hey, I got to put up with you.
That's right. That's true.
So the 80-20 rule is what we were going to talk about before we took the break. So that means that basically 80% of your results are going to happen from 20% of your effort.
Generally, yeah.
Well, that's what we hope.
That's right. Pareto's theory of male distribution. But the aspect is of the 80-20
Say that
rule,
again.
Pareto's theory of male distribution.
Any females?
Pardon? What was that?
You said Pareto's
theory of male
distribution?
Not male, but male.
Oh.
MAL.
Okay.
So, but
darn.
You're just thinking about where you want to put all the fellas, I guess.
Yeah,
okay.
I do. Okay.
Okay, but the aspect with this
I got a keyboard tray from Fellows the other day.
You did?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was pretty good.
All right. So the 80-20 rule, going back to that, is that if you look at your customers, you will probably find that 20% of your customers give you 80% of your business. So actually what you want to do is you want more people like those 20% that give you that large percentage of business.
Now, how often or how long do you think it normally takes for business to look at those kind of numbers or to have enough data to look at?
Oh, it's an interesting question. My often guess is probably...
Sometimes I come up with them.
Yeah, that's good. I would guess if you're in business for a year or 2 years that you have some experience as to where you're getting your business from, and you take a look at it. But if you're just starting out, you have no idea where you're going, and that's when you're first starting, you really have to define the customer because you really have to focus more.
Yeah, and if you're like 22 of the 28 million businesses and you've only got one employee or yourself, then you really don't have the time to look at those kinds of things because you're focused on taking the action.
Yeah, but sometimes you got to step back because the aspect is that the solopreneur or the individual entrepreneur that's out there, they're so busy, and they think that accomplishment or achievement is being busy.
Right.
Rather than looking and say, have I really accomplished anything?
Got to have your nose to the grindstone. How often have we heard that?
Well, nose to the grindstone is fine if you want a flat nose. but the aspect in business is you want to keep your nose and also have business. So you got to think about these things.
Yeah, get your nose off the stone and into the air, so you're looking around at what's available.
Right. So the key in business is really focus. When you talk about the 80-20 rule, it's really nothing more
is
than
that a
focusing.
harmonic key or?
It's the key to success.
Okay.
So what you really want to do is think about, okay, what is the focus I really have to work on to get there? So it could be harmonics, if that's what it is, if one makes you sing and make music, but the aspect here is what really
I like
is
everything in harmony, you know that.
Oh, I know that. The world of harmony. It's
Yeah,
really
harmony, people,
good.
and planet. That's the goal.
So
Even with business.
So the aspect is doing versus effectiveness. So if you're working on the 80% who's not giving you the business, or they're giving you the business because by the respect that you're not getting
I'm
business.
always giving you the business.
Yeah, that's right. So if you're working on that part of the equation, you're really working on the wrong part of the equation. So if you're a solopreneur, it's really far more important for you to work on that section that's going to give you the results.
And to be able to step back from time to time to really look at the process from an observer standpoint as opposed to being in the middle of it. Now, how do you do that, though? What are some of the things that you can do to be an observer in your own process?
Well, I used to have a fellow in one of my groups who was very interesting, an older gentleman, and he used to say that he had a company, but he used to take 1 day a week and he used to stay home and work, and he used to go in summertime in Chicago. He used to go in his backyard and sit in a lawn chair with a pad of paper and a pencil just to think.
Couldn't you do that on a golf course?
You can do it on a golf course, sure.
Maybe.
The people in back of you make
I
you
don't want to think about anything else when I'm on a golf course.
Yeah, but the aspect of the force in the back of you makes you think faster.
Yeah.
So you could do that. I mean, that's one way to do it. You think real fast.
True.
But the premise is when you get out of the mold that you're doing, sometimes you think differently and thoughts come about. When you're always doing the same thing over and over again, or you're kind of fostered into that area. So how do you come up with different epiphanies? Did the P come through? I mean,
yeah, you got the epiphany.
Yeah, our engineer is shaking his head. So that's a lot of P, right?
So, in the process of speaking of P's, process, protocol, procedure, punctuality.
Oh, that's
and
very good.
Pontification, which is what we're doing.
Oh, that's very good.
Yeah,
okay.
we're a couple of pontificators. Maybe we ought to switch our labels from advisorology to pontific. No, I can't go there.
No.
So, 80-20, we're looking at being able to define your time, being able to manage yourself a little bit better. But there's also another aspect of beyond managing your time wisely. And, a lot of times we think, okay, I got to follow this process, this script when I do my presentations or when I'm talking to a customer or a potential customer. I've got to put that hat on. There's a whole other school of thought that says ditch the pitch.
Okay.
Because you've got to create the relationship. Why is that better?
Well, the aspect is the more you speak from a script, the more it sounds
scripted.
Sounds scripted.
Yeah.
So the aspect is in sales.
It's like, is this guy really here with me, or is he just roting?
Well,
eroting.
Okay. Well, they also talk about in sales. There's an 80-20 rule too.
Right.
80% listening, 20% talking.
Absolutely.
So the aspect is, if you don't listen, you can't find out what that customer's or potential prospect's pain is. And another P.
Yeah.
And here you're really if you think about yourself as a salesperson,
postulating.
No, not postulating. You're really being a doctor. That you're really
proctologist. No.
Well, if that gives you joy, that's quite. I see you got a smile on your face.
Yeah.
But the aspect is, if you're
poking around,
the doctor format is that you should really think about, okay, what is a customer or prospect's pain? Because your job is to solve their pain. Your job is to cure them.
So you ask a few questions and shut up.
Right.
So and get your customer to talking about what their pain is.
Yeah, so you get them to talk about this. One of the interesting aspects I've used when someone makes an appointment with me, I'll go in and I'll say, no, Zen, I really appreciate your making the appointment, but I'm just curious, why do you take the time to talk with me? And they have an idea why I'm there, but they say no, they start talking about, no, I have this difficulty and that difficulty. And the premise is that they're talking about where their issues are. So you have to adapt.
Are they Ishmis or issues or Ishmis?
So you have to adapt your presentation to solving their issues, where you have a resolution to take care of those.
So you got your quiver of arrows, and you're sitting there. You're asking the right questions. You're getting them to talk about the situation. You're paying very good attention to how they're addressing things, and then through the process of active listening, you feed back to them what you thought you just heard them say, which gives you enough time to process and pull the right arrow out of your quiver.
Oh, that was very good.
Ooh,
wow. So I can tell that you're a hunter for business.
I am. I'm a hunter, period. I'm a hunter-gatherer.
We just have to get you some modern tools more than just arrows and...
my boomerang doesn't work anymore.
Maybe a semi-automatic or something.
Right. I've been in the Outback too long.
But the aspect is, you're right, that what you're really doing is you're listening, so you don't have a sales pitch. The aspect is you have kind of an outline of what you want to accomplish.
Well, who the hell wants to do business with a pitch guy?
That's right.
You want to create a relationship.
That's right. So you want to. So as you show, if you go to the 80-20 rule on listening,
unless you're just looking for the cheapest price. On something.
But people, what was that? Just looking for the cheapest price? Was that what you said?
Yeah. Unless as a customer or potential customer, you're just looking for the cheapest price on something, and you're not going to necessarily care about the relationship.
Okay. But that goes back to the question of defining your customer.
Right.
If you're going out and calling on people who only want to buy the cheapest price, does that satisfy your definition of customer? And also, have you created a differentiation? We didn't talk about, in the first part, marketing versus sales. But one of the aspects in marketing is that you have to
let's talk about it now.
Go through the definition of I define marketing as kind of like an architect. When you go to build a building, the architect designs it, and they're designing the plan of how you're going to go forward, and the contractors do the implementation. So sales is very similar. The architect is a marketing team, and sales are the implementation team. So when you really
almost
go
didn't
out,
get that P out.
So I got that P out. So the aspect is that when you do this, you really have to say, okay, am I really moving forward on the implementation of the plan? And if I have the marketing department, or you in your marketing thought process created the way you're going to go to market, and you mentioned like low cost. And a lot of people get caught up in this low-cost format. And you have to do a lot more business if you're just a low-cost guy. So you have to create, what is the differentiation? What is the value added that you bring?
Well, again,
what makes you different?
If you're going to create that relationship, then that's really what makes you different, because you're able to connect with your customer.
That's right.
And that's all important.
Well, basically, there are three type of businesses. One is the technology company, which is always creating new technology. One is a low-cost producer, and very few small businesses are the low-cost producer. And the third one is a relationship seller. And if you're going to be a relationship person, you have to really listen to people and create that relationship.
Right, and we're all in relationships on the ocean of emotion. We have 2 ears, 1 mouth from which to speak, so you better listen twice before you speak once.
And that's right. That's why they're going to listen to our next section right after this.
Exactly, and we'll be right back with you. Thanks for listening to Two Small Biz Guys.
Two Small Biz Guys with Zen and Ray. We'll be back after this. Business owners want to call their own shots, make appropriate income, and control their destiny. Our passion is to help you achieve your goals. A Pro Peer Advisory Board is just the thing. It's a confidential monthly meeting of non-competitive owners facilitated by a pro who has walked in your shoes. He's your mentor and tormentor, moving you ahead. When you have issues or opportunities keeping you awake, where do you get help? Pro boards give support and non-biased feedback from your peers. To sample a free Pro President's Board meeting, email ray@propres.com. There's no commitment or charge. Email ray@propres.com.
Hi, I'm Zen Benefiel with Be the Dream Transformational Life Coaching and Professional Services at BeTheDream.com. Our mission? To provide leading-edge transformational personal and business development services. Our services include life coaching, enterprise coaching, partnering facilitations, and possibilities coagulating. We've been in business since 1988. In times of massive change, you need someone who can help you adjust and transform. I can meet that challenge with you, offering a stellar skill set from serving individuals and companies for over 20 years. I invite you to peruse BeTheDream.com and put me to the test. Fill out the coaching assessment survey and give me a call. The first call is free, and you can find out if I'm what you are looking for in a coach, consultant, or service provider. Call 480-633-7179. Let your dreams mold future realities. BeTheDream.com.
You're listening to Two Small Biz Guys. Now, back to your hosts, Zen Benefiel and Ray Silverstein.
Welcome back to Two Small Biz Guys. We're talking about the 7 steps to create sales and hoping that you'll get some benefit from this, knowing that you will, especially from our conversation, whether we're your pontificators or advisorologists or whatever. We're a couple of smart guys that can share a lot of cool stuff. So we're sharing some stuff about, in this next session, how to get leads. What do you do? What are some of the best methods to get actual qualified leads for your business?
Well, the best method is always
referrals.
Referrals are always the best. But the question is...
We can say that together. Referrals.
But the aspect is, a lot of people ask for referrals. So you go to somebody, they say, well, use my name. And that, to me, is kind of like a phone book type of
As long as it's not in vain, huh?
So I think you're far better off if you say, Zen, could you possibly send Blade an email introducing me?
Right.
Or could you make a phone call introducing me? And that way it's a far more effective
Well, kind of
referral.
like I did to reconnect you with Barry Moltz this morning.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
and I got an email back that says he's in London.
Yeah, I saw that. So anyway, that'll be up and coming.
I was going to send him back and ask him to check out the bridge, but...
yeah, it's in Lake Havasu now. You got to come back. He's got to come out here to visit.
The original one.
So we've got referrals. The pre-contact. What's
well, okay. The
pre-contract?
aspect is a pre-contract is when you meet somebody. A lot of insurance salesmen use this, and they basically will say, Zen, if I do a good job for you, and after we get done, if you're satisfied and very happy, would you give me 3 or 4 people, or refer to me 3 or 4 people you think that could use my services?
Mm-hmm.
So you're making this front-end contract, and the front-end contract is that if I do a good job, would you refer me?
Coaching does a lot of that, too.
Yeah, that's right. Coach. I mean, any type of, I think, one-to-one type of sale type of format works.
The relationship selling.
So the aspect
kind of
is
the hinge pin of it.
Okay, so you're getting referrals, you get testimonials, but these are things you have to ask for. Don't always expect that they're going to come your way unless you ask for it. Don't be bashful.
And that's the thing that a lot of us have a problem with: the closing questions, or the asking for referrals, or opening up and just asking for things. Period. We hope that they're going to be there. We do the work. We make all this effort, and we work our butts off to try and get this or that or the other, and make our numbers. And yet there's that hesitancy to ask.
Well, my
whether it's for help, numbers, referrals, whatever.
Well, my aspect is, if you don't ask for the business, you're not going to get it.
Right.
So worst that can happen is that they're going to say no. So, that's the very worst that can happen. Somebody says no, and then you say, oh, drat.
Oh, my God, it's another reject.
Oh, so you better get used to it. But the other aspect is that a lot of people use networking.
Right.
And, I'm not a big believer in all of these networking activities, but I think networking can be effective.
It depends on the individual, and you've got to be really conscious of the efforts you make. Most networking meetings I've found feel like a meat market. You go in there and everybody's looking to get you. And there are a few people that actually really get you. And those are the ones that are usually looking at people, paying a little bit more of attention, timing their introductions, and really establishing a conversation rather than just immediately trying to get your business card and saying you're going to follow up or,
Okay, well, I agree. What you're talking about is establishing a relationship. But also the other aspect
you got to
is
develop the rapport with somebody
Yeah.
before you try and do anything with them.
But the goal is not just to get business cards. The goal is to create the relationship. The goal primarily, if you go to networking, is to find who are good connectors. Because a good connector is a very good referral source for you.
Are we talking Gladwell stuff, Mavens, connectors, and what were some of the other from the tipping point? But you're right. You've got to know the more connectors or Mavens that you know, the better opportunities you're going to have because they're going to refer you as well.
Right. So the aspect is when you go to networking, the goal is not to say, well, look, folks, I got 100 business cards tonight. That's not really a success.
Yeah, what'd you do? Just come back from a trade show?
Well, okay, now I'm glad you mentioned trade shows because trade shows and events, also if you participate in events and even networking is events, my aspect is when you go there, you should have a goal. But on a trade show, a lot of people exhibit in events or trade shows and they really don't think about the pre-show activity, the show activity, and the post-show activity. So there's really 3 marketing areas for these things.
Mm-hmm.
So you just don't show up and put your booth up or where your stand.
Even though 90% of success is just showing up.
Yeah, that's what Woody Allen says. I think that was a quote. He says, to be successful, you just got to show up.
You got to show up. Yeah. If you're not there, nothing can happen.
That's true. But the aspect is if you think about pre-show activity, in other words, if you are going there and you have some network, you're going back to your 80-20 rule, and you send out invitations, stop by and visit with me. It gives you an opportunity to make appointments. The key, I think, if you are working in a trade show, is to create appointments for the show beforehand, which means identifying the customer you want to really talk to or the prospect.
Yeah, because most trade shows, you can get a list of the vendors that are going to be there pre-show.
Yeah, and you also sometimes not only the vendors, but also you can get. That's if you're working the show. In other words, if you're visiting the show, you have a list of the vendors.
Right.
But also if you're exhibiting at the show, the aspect is you also sometimes going to get a list of the attendees, or if you know your customers are going to be attending this trade show, is that you make appointments with them for the show, so that you can talk about
you call them ahead of time. Let them know you're going to be there. Hey, we're going to be here such and such a day, such and such a time. When can we meet?
Right, but the last part was the key. When can we meet? Make those appointments, because if you just assume they're going to stop by and you're going to talk, that's
not going to work. You got to lock it in.
Right.
That doesn't mean that they're going to show up. A lot of times that I know, oftentimes with the coaching clients that I get from online, they'll make an appointment to do the initial consultation, never show up. They'll reschedule 2 or 3 times, and then I blow them off because I'm not going to waste my time.
Well, that's correct. I mean, your time is critical.
It really is.
So, but the worst part is if they don't show up, you're really no worse off. Actually, what you can do is you can also, if you want to, when people miss my appointments, I will send a follow up to them and say, "No, I'm sorry you missed." And also I'll say, sometimes if they really miss and I really get sarcastic, I also say I send them a get well card. Because I'm saying you must have been sick that day. That's why you missed.
Right, but I have to say that this is one of the things that I think plagues any and all industries when you're talking about professionalism. The inability to follow up, to communicate professionally, to be considerate of others and their time, and say what you're going to do what you're going to.
Yeah,
do what you say, and everything
agree.
will work out. But we tend to lose confidence, and I think we lose trust. We have this knack for not trusting because we're so used to people not being trustworthy because they don't follow up on their word.
Yeah, well, that could be, but I don't think that's the case. But I think just people are sometimes lazy, and when people are lazy, but the aspect is if you're in sales,
for whatever reason, it's not happening.
Yeah, it's not happening. If you're in sales, you got to be like water against rock sometimes, and you just got to keep on plodding forward. But again, this goes back.
We have a perfect example of that just north of here. It's a little thing called the Grand Canyon.
Yeah, that was water against rock. But the aspect is you want to define your customer, again, going back to our first discussion, as to those people that you work with that you can have confidence and you can have trust. Trust is very important both ways. But going back to trade shows or events, so when you're there, you want to have appointments if at all possible. And when you have the appointments, you also have to have a post-show strategy. what are you going to do after the trade show? In other words, when you picked up these business cards or these leads, do you really follow up with them, or you just let them sit on your file cabinet?
And what do you do with the cards in the process? Because one of the things that I think most people do, it's very rare that someone will actually turn the card over during the conversation with the person and make notes on the card. They usually just stick the card away, and then they, when it's afterwards and you got this stack of cards,
that's because they have
who the hell was this?
They have very good memories. What do you mean?
Right.
They have very good memories. So the aspect is, I agree.
That's very idyllic.
You want to make notes on the cards. I agree with that. You want to make them noteworthy.
Absolutely.
So would you tell them, I'm making you noteworthy?
Speaking of noteworthy, we've got a few notes on the website that are available to you as part of our offering, and you'll find the forums on the page that has this this show featured called 7 Steps to Creating Sales. There's a forum on the website on Two Small Biz Guys. So if you go to the Star Worldwide Networks homepage for us, there's a place there where you can click on our website, even on the player. You can click on the website, go to us, and we will be there to serve you very quickly.
So are you telling me that we're making all our people who listen to our show players?
Aren't we all? I love to play. Don't you? Life is playful. If you're not having fun with what you're doing, then maybe you better consider what you're doing.
Well, if you're not having fun with what you're doing, then it's called work.
I happen to think that work can be just as much play as work. And if you're having a great time, it doesn't really seem like work.
That's right. That's what you should.
If your passion and your purpose is aligned, everything else works out, and your relationships just kind of build from there. Okay,
and we're going to be talking about how to make your work even more playful in the next section.
And that we will. We'll be right back with you. Thanks for listening to Two Small Biz Guys, and we'll be right back.
Two Small Biz Guys with Zen and Ray. We'll be back after this. As a business owner, have you ever felt alone at the top? You don't have to be. Ray Silverstein has worked with many business owners for over 20 years facilitating peer advisory boards. He is the proverbial mentor and tormentor. A Pro President's Peer Advisory Board is a confidential monthly meeting of non-competitive owners that give support, feedback, and knowledge. They know the adage, all of us are smarter than one of us. He has walked in your shoes, having owned and sold 2 companies with sales in excess of $60 million and approximately 1,300 employees. In Young President's organization, he participated in peer advisory boards and felt it was a key to his success. His passion is to help small business owners succeed. He knows peer boards work when you are open, don't feel like you know it all, are willing to put issues on the table, and willing to take criticism. Be his guest at a Pro Advisory Board meeting to see if it works for you. There's no commitment to join, and you'll have a great experience. To sample a free Pro Business Owner Peer Board, email ray@propres.com. That's ray@propres.com. There's no commitment or charge.
Are you a small business owner looking for education and information and don't have time for school? Is there an area of your business you'd like to know more about but aren't sure where to go or who to ask? Practical Biz U is an online repository of small business courses now available to you on the web. There are single class options, bundles for specific areas, and monthly memberships for ongoing learning opportunities. Go to practicalbizu.com and sign up today.
You're listening to Two Small Biz Guys. Now, back to your hosts, Zen Benefiel and Ray Silverstein.
Welcome back to Two Small Biz Guys. We've been entertaining you today on the 7 steps of creating sales, and I'm sure you've enjoyed the show. We've got a little bit more to share with you yet. How do you tell when nobody's buying? How do you sell when nobody's buying?
Well, it's always a difficulty, but the aspect is, I think, it goes back to the first step of the qualification. The more you qualify and the more you identify the customer, the higher probability you're going to have success when you get to the end. So when people don't really buy, the question is always why. I mean, and if it's, a lot of people say, well, it's my price. And if you get involved in a price scenario and then you think that you have to sell on price, you're really selling a commodity. You're
Right.
not selling a product or a service. So get out of that mode, because otherwise you have to do. If your gross profit is 10%, and if you normally would be selling at 20%, now these are both very low. You got to do twice as much business at 10% to make the same margin dollars. So you got to get.
So here we go back to the 20/80 rule.
So you
or
go
80/20
back
rule, wherever you
so
want to
you
look
go
at
back
it.
to the aspect and you say, I'm going
Glass
to
half full or half empty? Nah, I don't care. I have the pitcher.
Okay, you got the picture. That's why
I do.
Is that PITCHER?
It is.
Okay.
That's another P word.
So the other aspect is also in selling is one of the processes that people use is sampling, and sampling is a premise of letting people try it, see how it works. One of the big things, if you ever go to a pet store, another P, is that they will give you the puppy to take home, another P, and they do pee. But when you take home that puppy, it's very hard to bring it back again.
Very true. You do bring up a great point, though, sampling. I had a 13-state territory in the Midwest back in the 80s, B2B health food to health food store, and or health food manufacturer to health food store. And I increased the market penetration in that territory by 45% in 18 months simply by saying, hi, this is Zen from blah, blah. Don't want to sell you a thing today. Just like to send you a couple of samples and a price sheet and call you back in 7 to 10 days. Is that okay?
Okay.
And in that 7 to 10 days, then I'd spend a few minutes continuing with the report because all of a sudden the pressure's off. I'm not trying to sell them anything, and they know that. So we can have a conversation. So that next conversation, then, very first thing I can, say is, hey, how do you like the product? Can I send you, X, and or start you off with, and of course with those, with that kind of market penetration increase, a lot of those were call sales.
So sampling is a very effective means of selling product, and if you have that type of product or service, it's a great way to do it. I mean, you find a lot of coaches, for example, will say, "Let me give you a one-time coaching session to see how you like it."
Right.
Because you start to build.
Well, that's
rapport.
what I mentioned earlier. The people that called to set up for the free consultation just to see if I'm someone that they could work with, or for me to see if they're someone I can work with, because that's not always the case.
Well, it has to be a two-way street. I guess.
It does.
I agree with that. Also, the other aspect is in coaching or in business B2B type thing where there's more people in services today. You got to be very careful as to how much information you give away, because there's a very big concept or expectation that the more information I give them, the more credible they think I am, the more they think I know. But many times you give away so much information that they don't need you anymore.
Well, true, and it also violates the 2 ears, 1 mouth rule. If you're going to be continually talking and not asking them questions, then you're not really doing much.
Yeah.
You're listening to yourself speak, and that's about it. You might think you're doing something great. Hey, I've got all this information. Look at me. I know all of this stuff. I'm sharing it with you. Isn't that cool? I'm not asking you a thing. I don't really give a shit whether I sell to you or not right now because I'm just spewing.
Right. So you got to be very careful because, I give the example. On years ago, we were building a plant, and this
was it green?
No, this was one with bricks and mortar.
Okay.
So it was.
Well, you can have green plants then.
That's true.
The lead buildings.
Well, the lead wasn't around at that time.
Right.
But the aspect was
They were being
that
led elsewhere.
Somebody gave us a proposal which was so detailed, down to the gnat's eyelash, that we took the proposal. We shouldn't
That's
have done
a new
this.
one, a gnat's eyelash?
A gnat's eyelash.
Ooh.
And we use that as the code for other contractors to quote. And the aspect was that it made our job a lot easier in buying this product. Now, we shouldn't have done that, but we did. But the aspect is that the party gave us too much information. So you have to be careful as to how much you give. No, some people believe they create credibility by giving out information.
Mm-hmm.
And they use that as a sales tool.
That might be good if you're in technical sales and you're solving a problem and you're having that kind of a discussion. But if you're speaking with someone that could be a potential competitor.
Well, but even a customer, sometimes you got to say, this is the secret sauce. And if you want the secret sauce, you have to buy the service.
You want hot, mild, or spicy?
Right. So that's
or bland.
That's one aspect. The other aspect is buyer's remorse. A lot of times, you get the sale, or you're done, and you think you're going to get the order, and the order never comes. And a sales process that people use sometimes is called a reverse. And
Takeaway.
And a reverse is that you'd say, Zen, in other words, if your major concern is time, you say, no, Zen, do you really think you have the time to really invest in this type of activity that we just agreed to? And then basically what you'll say is that, yeah, I've heard the thing, and this is something I really have to do. So therefore, they're selling you on their ability to want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So the premise of the reverse is it takes away buyer's remorse. A lot of people are afraid to ask that question because they're thinking that you're raising an objection for the potential buyer, and therefore the buyer is going to latch onto it and say, no, I'm not going to do it.
Again, the more questions you ask, the more in charge you are of the conversation.
That's true.
Woohoo!
But what you're doing here is you're having the customer really sell themselves, or the prospect sell themselves.
Wouldn't that be great if we could all do that?
Sell themselves, or just step back.
Get the customer to sell themselves. Yeah, to be able to ask the right questions, and I think that's just as much as anything else. It's a practice that you can develop, learn, and practice repeatedly, whether it's in front of the mirror or with other people, friends, neighbors, countrymen.
It goes back to having what are the critical questions you should ask during the presentation. It's not what you should really say to sell them, but what are it's the
and
question.
You don't necessarily know. That's where market research comes in, where you go ask potential customers, hey, what are the questions that matter to you regarding this? Right?
So the aspect is the questions are really more important than the answers. You want to hear what their answers are, but your question is really what's going to drive that answer that gives you the opportunity to really make your presentation that we talked about before about ditching the pitch.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the other aspects we talked about is the creating the differentiation. What really makes you different? If you're coming in to sell, whether it be coaching or anything else, what really makes you different and unique that they should really want to buy your service?
Yeah, we're just a couple of caricatures.
Well, that makes us different.
That makes exactly. We have a lot of fun with that, and because we are a couple of characters, so why not go with the caricatures, with the caricaturization?
Yeah. And the other item which we talked about just the other day, which is very, very old style,
right?
Our thank you notes, and that was kind of like I haven't thought about that in years.
Well, we've had this whole shift to a digital kingdom, right, or queendom, depending on, and so there's this part of it's environmental, it's the sustainability. There's no longer the paper and things like that. Digital communication, it's
faster.
It's faster, actually, almost instantaneous sometimes. But yet, there's that personal touch that has been left out. That's really hard to get in cyberspace. You can't really reach out and touch someone, right? However, just by putting together a little thank you note and sending that out, or any kind of note in general, your potential customers are going to see that as an additional effort that you're making. They call it a touch.
Well,
right?
It's called a touch, but I think it's part of the relationship aspect.
Absolutely.
And the interesting
you
part
care
is,
enough to do that.
Well, you can send an email, thank you for the appointment, for whatever. But you get.
Yeah, but that's only so-so.
That's right. It's only so-so.
Yeah, that's really easy. It takes a couple seconds, fire it off. Yeah, nothing.
Right. I agree. It has all those things that it's just kind of so-so. But when you get something which is really out of the ordinary, and again, that goes back to differentiation. If you get something that's really out of the ordinary, it gives you the opportunity to maintain the discussion, but also makes people. You want your prospects to put you top of mind.
Right. Now, I will say that the thank you with the email, if you go to the extent of including other information, of referencing the conversation you had, sending them a link of something that they might be interested, and it may or may not have anything to do with the specifics of the transaction that you're wanting to make with them. It shows that you were paying attention to the conversation and how they are, or who they are, or what they are outside of that realm.
Right. Well, the key is the key is recognition that you were listening to them, because you made comments as to what they brought up. You sent them information as to what might be helpful. So you're really creating this relationship that I'm listening. I'm not just talking. And the key, I think,
people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Gosh, that came from a long time ago.
So what you were talking about is an email.
That's older than you are, right?
Well, we didn't talk about sales automation, but sales automation is also one way for carrying on the dialogue and the relationship. But it doesn't really get as intimate as the old style of.
And sales automation oftentimes is, we call it drip campaigns now. When you're using the internet, email services, marketing platforms, and things like that. And there's a lot of them out there.
Well, the premise is that they say that you talk to different people. They say it takes anywhere from 4 to 7 touches before you can get an appointment, before you can get interest, before you can get the business.
And it takes, and 85% of the sales come after the 7th touch, or so I've heard.
Oh, okay. You've heard a lot. You've heard 85%. So you just broke the 80-20 rule and you added 5% more. What a deal.
Yeah, well, maybe that's true. It's just statistics. There's liars, damn liars, and statisticians. So we really never know for sure. But analytics never lie. Speaking of analytics, we've got some, we're having a great track record here. We're rapidly becoming one of the fastest growing shows here. We thank you, our listeners, for that, because without your clicks, it wouldn't be happening. And for that, we actually love to give away a lot of stuff. So if you go to the website and look up the blog for this specific show, the 7 Steps to Creating Sales, there's a form there that you can request the white paper that we're working from today, and also a 100-point sales system that will give you some advantage. And with that, Ray, any final parting words? Another P?
No, this is an F. Focus is a key to sales.
Focus. Focus, 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 hocus, pocus, focus. And with that yesteryear comment, we thank you for listening to Two Small Biz Guys, and we'll be back next time.
Thank you for listening to Two Small Biz Guys with Zen Benefiel and Ray Silverstein. You can hear Two Small Biz Guys live every Wednesday at noon, or catch their show on demand anytime 24/7 right here on StarWorldWideNetworks.com.